I'm Hobbes and you're watching Underground Bunker on Bloodrock Media. Rock on, guys!
Prosper et hop la boum, c'est le chéri de ses dames. Prosper et hop la boum, c'est le roi du macadam. Quand une femme se fait poisser par les roussins du quartier, il la laisse tomber et il s'en va carrément.
Hello once again, everybody. I am back from Texas and fuck, it's cold. Yeah, oh well. Texas was nice, but it's good to be back home where my bed is. So, that said, let's get to work. You all know what this is. It's a weekly web series where I showcase unsigned and underground bands that I really think you ought to be paying attention to. Because in this day and age when everybody just gets offended by a sweetie, I'm trying to... In this day and age when everybody's just pissed off about everything and the whole world is polarized like the frickin' ice caps, we all need to be listening to more and more music, and that's what your old buddy Hobbes is here for. You know what? I talk about everything from pop rock to death metal. I say this every week. Pop rock to death metal because there's good music in every genre. And we all need to be listening to this stuff. And today is going to be a perfect example of that. That said, let's do a fucking show! Leading off this week is a band that I was only introduced to a week ago, and I was so wowed by the concept that they immediately jumped to the top of my list. This is Bloodywood. This is a special treat for me because I am not normally treated to music from Asia. We just don't hear a lot of it, and especially in America. These guys are from India, New Delhi, India. Now think of that. Metal band from India. Those are three words that you would not normally put together in the same sentence. But I did. And these guys are fucking awesome. They are actually just a two-piece. It's two guys that sort of started making their own. The word is parody, but not in the Weird Al Yankovic or Psycho Stick sense. Parody can mean anything. It can mean doing somebody else's work in a completely different style. That's just a parody. And what these guys are doing is meddling up everything and making it awesome. Now they started in 2016, which wasn't that long ago, but in that time they've done over 30 videos, lyric videos and music videos of themselves doing these songs, and each one of them is a metal cover of a very major song, including Justin Timberlake and Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up, and all of these songs that these guys have done are just amazing because they're not doing the music simply to be kind of funny, even though it is funny to watch. They're not doing the music to be funny. They're not doing the music to be cover artists. They are meddling up good songs and making them, well, in my opinion, they're making them better because a lot of this stuff was not metal and now it is. And everything's good when it's metal. One of these songs gained a lot of attention. And for those of you who read the music websites like Blabbermouth or PRP, you might have heard about this. The late Chester Bennington from Linkin Park happened to catch one of these guys' rendition of his song Heavy, which I happen to like. I mean, it might be a huge departure from the Linkin Park we knew and loved, but I actually kind of liked it because I like that ambient stuff. And you can never hear enough of it, especially if you're sort of sitting around the house and stuff. I liked it. A lot of people didn't, but I did. These guys did not. So they took Heavy and made it heavy. And Chester did not like that at all. Someone asked him what they thought of it, what he thought of it, and he pretty much dissed the crap out of it. But Bloodywood took it on the chin, and when they heard about what he said about it, basically said, you know what, thanks for the nod, thanks for the attention, we're going to go over here and do some more metal. Very cool, very professional, and a lot of bands just don't do that. A lot of big bands don't do that. and certainly not blabbermouth. Now, being in this day and age, these guys got smart real quick, and instead of, you know, selling merch and stuff, which they do, they took to Patreon right away, which is a smart move for a group like this, because they even told me so. You know, bands today aren't making the money, so Patreon is a really, really good way to sort of enhance what little money they have. So Patreon, guys, and because of the Patreon, they are basically taking donations to fund the album that they're writing, and they've already got a whole bunch of stuff, but what they're going to do is they're going to add to it, remix and remaster it, and put it out later in, I think, November. So get on the Patreon, and if you don't, you can also check them out on Facebook. Check them out, Bloodywood. The next band I'm going to talk about is something that I wouldn't normally talk about, because these guys are a glam rock band called Echo Black.
If you say I can't have you, then you won't have anyone. I'll crack open your chest and I'll steal your everything. If you say
I love these guys. I love them a lot, and not just because the music's good, but the music is very good. As a glam rock band, you know, there's not a whole lot of that going on these days. However, if you get up to the East Coast, it is very popular. These guys are one of the more popular bands in New York City, where they're from, and they have taken to sort of doing the hard rock thing, which actually they sort of started out as a hard rock band, and then sort of molded themselves into the whole glam rock thing by adding backing tracks and dressing up for the gig, which I am always impressed with. Bands that dress up for the gig and go that extra mile to put on a really good show is rare, and a band like this, when they do it, they do it. They do it. They really do it. To the point where for all their music videos, they're getting like really, really high-end fashion stuff brought in, so they can really, really make a good music. And this is all from an unsigned band. Started in 2015 by Danny Blue, the singer, who had his own solo project beforehand. And they quickly actually got a lot of attention. Got a manager right away, got on tour with bands like Combi Christ and The Birthday Massacre. If you know either of those bands, you and I will get along very well. They started by putting out an EP which featured guest vocalist Davey Suicide. If you know who he is, very cool. And they sort of took it on from there and did more songs, did more videos, and just recently, last summer, put out a full-length album called Dawn, which I have it, and I highly recommend that you buy it, because it's, well, listen, it's very good stuff, it's very listenable, and even if you don't like glam rock, or at least the image thereof, you can appreciate the music because it's well thought out, it's well produced, and it is very of the genre. So it's very easy to listen to, but it still brings that sort of harder edge. Yeah, you know what? And this is all besides the fact that I know these guys personally. I actually drove them on one of their tours a couple years ago. Some of the nicest guys in the world, and very, very family-oriented, very tight-knit group. I really, really enjoyed it. Some of the most fun I've had on the road ever. And got to tour with a band called Hour 24, and those guys are some seriously cool guys. But Echo Black, I mean, drivers are supposed to, you know, drive to the venue, go to sleep. I did not do that because I've seen these guys before. So I'm with Combi Christ. So at pretty much every stop on the tour, I'd go watch them and get really tired because you can't sit still watching these guys. Very cool stuff. So because of that, I highly recommend that you check these guys out on their Facebook and on echoblack.com. The next group I'd like to show you is just this weird fucking couple of dudes from Australia. They're called Angel Spit.
I love the way that you sweat when you lie. Hearing you beg always makes me smile. It turns me on when your honey starts to drip as I put on the thumb screws and tighten their grip.
Alright, now this is a group that got their start a long time ago. They got their start in 2004. Now they're from Sydney, Australia. They've been, you know, a 4-piece, a 5-piece, a 3-piece, a 2-piece, and now they're back to a 3-piece. Unfortunately, without one of their singers, Lorelei, who I fucking loved. They are just a weird, I mean, listen to this. They're just sort of this weird industrial group that's sort of a fuck you kind of style. And in fact, when Lorelei was still in the group, which this song that you're listening to, that's her singing, when Lorelei was still in the group, the sound was basically exactly what it would sound like if you were in a bondage club in New York back in the 90s. Kind of like the movie Seven, when they go into the bondage club and stuff like that. Think of that. Very kind of, you know, I'm gonna fuck you raw and then you're gonna thank me for it, slave. They have toured the world several times over, and in a very, very good fashion. They have toured with some of the biggest industrial acts in the world, not to mention, you know, metal bands and stuff like that. And I think one of the recent tours was like, I have no idea. As you would, you know, being one of the bigger industrial bands. See, that's another thing. They're one of the bigger industrial bands out there because they've managed to stay relevant in a very long time. But they don't have the fan base to reflect that, which is really, really sad because they're really good. And if you're into this kind of thing, if you listen to Combi Christ and Godhead, old Godhead, by the way, then you would love these guys. So why aren't people loving it? I have no idea, but people should. Because they have put out 7 full-length albums, not to mention live albums and all these others like remixes, comps and stuff, and people love it. I don't see why they don't have a bigger fan base. The current album, by the way, is Black Dog Bite, which was released last year in 2017. I highly recommend that you check it out. You definitely got to buy it. Short of that, check them out on their Facebook and angelspit.net. We're going to take a little bit of a break from normal again and talk about this sort of weird thing called Skeleton Royals.
Phoenix, Arizona, you have been good to me. Washington State was great, it was so good to me. Haver, Montana, folk with their...
Now, this is an interesting thing. It's a weird amalgamation of several sounds, and I'll get to that. It's actually a one to several piece band started by this one guy, the singer, who basically tours the nation by himself and gets local musicians to play with him, sort of a jam session thing. And he has all the songs, and basically they just sort of dish it out and have a good time with it. Very cool stuff. And it happens to remind me, his voice most specifically, happens to remind me of a mix of Bob Dylan and what the fuck is going... His voice happens to remind me of like a mix of Bob Dylan and Dropkick Murphys. And if you ever heard of Dropkick Murphys, they're one of the, I don't know if they're still around, but they're a very cool punk band. Like I said, he sort of tours the nation by himself, playing with local musicians and writing stuff together and doing a jam session, you know, sort of as their set. Kind of cool stuff, you know, and he's got his own music, which you're listening to. They got a song, he has a song, which is about Milwaukee, where he is from. And I happen to like it. I like a lot of this stuff because it's sort of bluegrassy, but, you know, a little bit of punk. And I like that. He's got an album called Any Road Will Do. It's got several tracks on it, which are about 2-3 minutes long. If you're into this kind of music, which if you're sitting around listening to, you know, stuff you can tune out on the weekend while you're drinking coffee or cleaning the house, I highly recommend that you pop this stuff in because it's good. And you can listen to it, bob your head, and get your stuff done. Very cool stuff. So check his music out on Bandcamp and go look him up on Facebook.
Segway!
Here's another band from Milwaukee, from my neck of the woods. Although they have a very different style than Skeleton Royals, this group is called Amberstein, or Amberstein. I don't fucking know. It's difficult to really put my finger on why I initially started liking this band, because it's weird because I don't know what it was. I really don't. That said, they are a 3-piece band from my neck of the woods in Milwaukee, and I dig the hell out of them. They started in 2013, and well, I wouldn't say they took off, because who takes off in Milwaukee? They did, however, get very popular, and they've played a lot of shows in a lot of different areas of the region. Very cool. Very difficult to do in these days, and the fact that these guys are doing just that is a testament to how committed they are to their music. Their sound reminds me of this kind of weird amalgamation of Iron Maiden, like Bruce Dickinson's voice, and Yellowcard, if you remember those guys. Definitely kind of the more rock feel with kind of a very kind of Bruce Dickinson kind of voice going on, which, if you're not prepared for it, will sort of hit you over the head with cool. And I was not, and I was. So, it you know, like I said, I can't put my finger on exactly why I really started to like this band, but I did. And if you know you're into that kind of thing, you will totally dig this band. Now, it is exemplary of the music industry that a band doesn't get to put out a full-length album. These guys are no different. It's very difficult to find the money and the time to record and pay for that kind of music. That said, these guys have released 2 of their own EPs. The most current one is called Reflection, which I believe is an acoustic version of some of their songs. And I liked it a lot. They're not doing any shows right now, don't know what they're doing, but my guess is they're working on new material and they'll be playing more of it this year. To keep tabs on them, why don't you head right over onto Facebook right now, and short of that, check them out at amberstein.com. Amberstein. Susan. That's it for this episode of The Underground Bunker. I remind you once again to like and subscribe. You all know how this works. It's YouTube. It's been around for a long time, people. We need your subs, because otherwise the word doesn't get out. So, like and subscribe. You know how this works. Be sure to check out every band's info. They need your help. Buy the music. Get out and see their shows. Also, check out the Spotify playlist. It's getting longer every week because we feature every band I cover in the Spotify playlist. It's added every week. I would also like to take this time to thank Novaria, all the way from Italy, for contributing the intro. Fucking awesome, guys. Thanks a lot. And if you guys have a few minutes to spare, please check out my personal project, which is called The Toxic Dream. It's a story-based metal project that I've been working on for the past couple years. I think you'd like it. I'm going to leave you with this remark. We all need to start stepping up our game, because in this day and age, when it is harder than hell to stand out in a crowd, you need to help them. We need to help these guys stand out. All the bands that I've been talking about, help them. Love them. Get out and enjoy the party. I'm Hobbs. I'm out.